NESGameMaker. Well, last time we put together a room for our save creation. And we're going to do the same thing again, except this time we're going to be doing our save delete. And then we'll get working on moving from the save creation and delete sections to the actual game. And we'll actually get started working on the link object, which is going to be the bulk of our work in this project here, because getting the main character working is typically one of the hardest parts in the games. So let's get cracking on this object here. So last time, like I said, we made the save create, so we're going to do the save delete. Pretty much exactly the same thing, which is why I think this is going to be very quick, because you basically just copy and paste everything from the previous two rooms that we've done, except now we're going to be using it for the save delete. So create a background asset layer. Background underscore. That's it. Give it a 8x8. Go down to our sprites, title and main sprites, save delete background, drag it over to 0.8, and background, leave that alone. Instances, give this an 8x8. What we're going to do here to save a little bit of time on this again, since like I said, it's basically the same thing. Take our save, let's see, save create cursor and duplicate you. Save delete cursor and pull you over here. And once again, you want it to be what, like right there. That is 8060. It should be 8060. Why? Looks like my. I guess the save background is a slightly different height than the other two. Save delete background 256 by 240. Save select. Oh, by 232. Yep. So you are slightly different height. That's why. Of course, it would catch me up right here at this one point, you know. Anyways, so that's everything for the room. We can ignore it now. Let's come over here and save delete cursor, which, like I said, is just a copy of the other stuff. Pull open our events. Zoom in our code because it doesn't save that we zoomed in. And we're going to delete all this excess stuff here in our delete. We want to keep the menu wrap index ++ from 0 to 3. If file exists, check for these things. If it, in this case, we want to insert one line here. If not exists, and not exists 2, not exists 3, then index will always be equal to 3. Otherwise, if not exists and index is equal to 0, 1, and 2, ++, and that'll skip us over each one of the lines that don't exist. And then again, we can delete all these methods here because we don't need any of them anymore. Let's see. We're going to need to keep the save load stuff. We don't need the name stuff, so let's see. Actually, I do need to keep the save name bit, because we are going to be loading the player's save names from the files, and then bringing it into our save name array, which we'll then use to display the names of each of the player's files names that are in there. So save name 1, Legend of Zelda 2, 3, file exists, save name 1, 2, 3. It's good. Index is equal to 3, and menu wrap. Good to go. So yeah, that's fairly quick and painless. Let's see, menu navigate. If input pressed, dot select, then menu wrap, audio play sound, and we don't need to bother with this bit because we're not adjusting player names. That goes with all of this as well. We can delete all that. We're going to keep the select an option because we want to press start, select an option, switch on our index. In this case, we'll do case 0, case 1, case 2, because we want all 3 of these cases to do the same thing. So I'll put a break here so that case 0, 1, and 2. If you click on it, then delete the file name. Or delete the file, actually. So if our file name is equal to Legend of Zelda 2 save plus string index 1 plus dot save, I'm basically just building this name again on the fly. And I kind of didn't need to do this. I should have. That was actually part of the reason why if in the save create, you have the save file name part that's supposed to be in there. But for some reason, I was recreating the file name on the fly here before. It must have been before I put this into there. So yeah. Then just file delete file name, then saved name index. Replace the name with a blank. Audio play sounds SFX delete, and wrap your menu to the next menu position. And as for case 3, when you move to the next room, don't need that anymore. We just transition back to the main room. So back to save select. All right, and over to the draw event. We're just going to draw the sprite at its correct index location, xy plus 24 times index. Good. And set draw font. Then draw the names of the files. We don't need this bit. So that's everything. So let's give it a try here. And we don't like A. He was a good name, but he doesn't serve us well, so that's registering your name. Elimination mode. So yeah, we can only choose that one. Deleted and end. And if we come over here to our files, up data, let's see, it was local, right? So to tutorial, you'll see the file that represented the save is now gone. So I figured I should just mention real quick. See, we're loading up the file name here each time, and one of the things that you could have done is just load it all at once when you reach the save select screen, and then kind of like save it all into the globals or something, and just keep it running around one way or another. But you know, that's kind of complicated. It's just easier to just copy and paste all the code into each one of these 3 different objects, you know. So sometimes you worry about optimization, but in this case, there's no performance hit to just reloading the file and getting all the information each time. There's literally no reason to not just redo it because it's easier to just do it that way. So, you know, sometimes it's good to worry about performance, but in other times it's good to just know when to not care about performance. And in this case, you don't need to care about performance. What you really care about is just keeping the code simple, easy to use. So copying and pasting the code, simple, easy to use. Anyways, so when we create a file, we are, well, let's close all these things. We're going to come back to our save select cursor here in the step event. Excuse me. So when we select a file, we want to go, so we have, let's see, if we do 3 or 4, we go to the save create or the save delete, but in the case of case 0, 1, and 2, we actually go to the room lives display, so we definitely want to do that. So we also make sure that we move our save data to the global.current save data variable so that we don't have to worry about a local object variable containing that information. So that makes it easier. So we need to go to room say lives display. Here we go. And let me pull up my reference code version of the room. Lives display. Yes, this is very simple, very easy. That's why I'm basically going to combine this with the save delete, because that was also very quick and very easy. And we're only at 10 minutes here, and we have 10 more minutes we can fill. So we got instances, background, nothing with the background. The only instance here is object lives display. So let's move on to that. So open the code over on my end for this object lives display. Yeah, I got it over here. Create a new group here. We're going to call this room objects. Just kind of a catch-all for objects you throw into rooms that doesn't really have any specific room designation or anything like that. Create an object in here. We're going to call it object underscore lives underscore display, and it doesn't need any graphics or anything. You can just drag and drop it into the room if you feel like it. And open up the code. And object lives display, create. Okay. It's going to be very quick. What we're going to do is harvest some information from our global.current save data, bring it local because it's easier to work with local data. And, talking about optimization earlier, it's actually a slight optimization to bring stuff into local variables when possible if you are working on them, especially if you're going to use it quite often, like in a loop or something. It will give you a significant performance increase. So lives string, we want to string it because we're going to be writing this as text. Global.current save data continues. Name, global.save data player define file name plus ... because for some reason they have a ... in the actual game. Then we have a timer, second times 3. And a draw event. And to make this easy, we have the wonderful draw set font underscore ext capability. Close that as well. Just as a reminder, this is a custom script variable script I made that just combines a whole bunch of font information scripts into one for easy use. Then we have our text. We're going to want to draw it. Let's follow the rest of it as well. Draw the name of our player. Get the width of the name of the player, because if the player's name is smaller or longer, we want to position link sprite directly to the side of the player text. So we basically are getting how long it is so we can position the player appropriately as the text needs it. Then draw sprite little x. There's a little x you need to draw for the carry for the live, so it's x3 or x2 or however many lives you have. And of course, draw our text at the width plus the width of the link sprite, because we have to now include the width of the link sprite to get it to draw directly to the right of link, and draw the amount of lives that are available. And that's over here as well. So 64 plus W plus links width, 71 plus W plus links width. These magic numbers are, as usual, magic numbers that are just basically me going in and positioning stuff until finally they work. So it's nothing too magical, just draw links lives and name and stuff. Transition. So actually I'm going to move this out of the draw event, because it's technically a bad idea to do stuff in the draw event if you can avoid it. I mean, it's not so bad in this case, but it could, if you don't do it right, you could end up with like a single frame of you seeing the player's information flashed over the room background for the new room or stuff. You know, there's all sorts of complications that can come out of it. So once the timer is less than or equal to 0, fancy transition to global.current.savedata.starting room. And if you remember correctly, that's the one that gave us a bit of problem back here over in room North Palace, because we don't have a room North Palace. So let's actually fix that by create room underscore North underscore Palace. And we're also going to uncomment this so that when we create a new save file, it will actually keep this information. That's actually something you should keep in mind when you are doing save files, that you have to remember that you keep everything in order. And, well, the order doesn't really matter so much. But you definitely want to make sure that you remember that you have all the variables that you previously had when you're updating your save files or with new information, especially if you have a live game. You know, you don't want players' games to crash all of a sudden when they first get into it. That's why what they would do is they typically have like a system that says, okay, here's my old save file, load it up, copy all the information into a new save file, and then save over the old save file with the new one or something like that. Anyways, so in this case, once the timer is less than or equal to 0, do a fade transition to the starting room at speed of 5. Very quick, but there's a slight couple frames of transition. Cue the new song, overworld music, and set timer to some imaginably loud number, which makes this essentially a one-time event, because long before the timer would actually reach 0 again, you've already left the room and this is no longer exists. So yeah. Or, you know, you could always just use the transition finished function to see if there's a transition in progress. You know, same thing. And I figured this would be just simpler. So let's go over here, and for the room North Palace, we need to set up that a little bit, but I'm not going to go into too much of what we go to for setting it up for the moment. Just set the width of this room to 768 by 240, and make it more standouty, give it a cyan or green or whatever background you prefer. We'll go with purple because it's easy on the eyes. And I use it a lot whenever I'm doing anything that I want to have a transparency color that isn't likely to be in the actual object very much, so that you can just select by color and delete. Anyways, so let's create a new save file. And there we go. We got Link displaying. And there's our room and our music. So thank you everybody for joining me for this episode. I think that we are done. And next time we'll get started on building the North Palace room, which will just take a couple seconds as we drag in a couple images. That's just like the other rooms. And then we'll get started on the actual meat and potatoes of creating the Link object. So thank you everybody for joining me. I'm going to let past self me take it away with Patreon names now. I'd like to thank my legacy Patreon sponsors: James Burton, JD Lowe, Suli, and Vazia. I'd also like to thank my current Patreon sponsors: Kenneth Klein and Vladimir. Your support helps the NESGameMaker be made and to continue to grow, and I hope that you all continue to have good luck with your programming.